very lucky last year. His home run to fly ball rate was a low of 7.9. That's not sustainable. He's going to give up more runs. He does have some warts on him, and he's not going to be able to pitch 160 or 170 innings. I don't see that. I don't think that's even possible for him.
He was a $30 pitcher, and that's even with winning the same 3 wins as Carrasco last year. Why are you out on him, Paul?
Oh, I just don't really buy that performance holding in any real capacity. I mean, his slider was literally the best pitch in baseball, and that's awesome. It is a very good pitch, but it's really his only reliable pitch. This was the first time we've seen the fastball be a positive offering. He did add a tick of velo to it, which is impressive, and it's going to help him keep some of those gains, but the slider is going to come back a bit. Like, just having the best pitch in baseball is hard to repeat. And so I don't think he's going to be able to do that. I just don't see it. He's still only a 2-pitch guy, and you can even say 1.5 because of the uncertainty of the fastball. We've only seen this 2-month run of it being good. And you throw in the health concerns with it. Truth be told, even if he'd been healthy, I'd still be pessimistic on Dinelson Lamet. In fairness, I was pessimistic on him coming into 20. I was definitely wrong, 100%. I've since upped him from there, but I have not moved him commensurate with how this 2020 has put him in the market, which is as a top 20 pitcher, or top 25 pitcher. There's no chance I'm taking him that high. I cannot do it. I just don't have that much confidence that he is a superstar. I think he's a solid star level talent. He's not a superstar though, so I got to take him somewhere in the 30s or even 40s among starters, which means I'm not getting him, of course, for Dinelson Lamet.
I'm a little bit higher than 30s and 40s, but I will say that I'm probably out on draft formats. I'm probably considering in auction formats. In a draft, it really depends on what if you don't pick them, who are you going to get? I think I have better options in the 4th round. I have better options, as we've seen, in the 5th round. I really don't want to pay the same type of price. I think he's too risky for passing up on some of the other pitchers, which I like better. But in an auction format, I can see the opportunity where he's, because of the risk, a certain auction room passes on him and only has him at $17. At $17, I think he's shown enough with his strikeout rate, which has been fantastic over the last 2 years individually. His walks have been super low. And his ratios have actually been pretty good. I mean, a .86 ERA, a .86 WHIP last year, which is also fantastic. So I think there's enough in there to get a $3 discount at auction that I'd buy, but I think that in a draft format, I am out. How about his teammate, Chris Paddock? Paddock is suddenly, the 5th best starter on San Diego? Can that be?
I think so. I'm a huge Musgrove fan, so yeah, I think he is the lowest of that bunch.
All right, so are we taking Paddock at his price? He's going in the 8th round?
Probably not. Greinke, Julio Urias, Charlie Morton, McCullers, Pablo Lopez, Kevin Gausman, the aforementioned Joe Musgrove, Sandy Alcantara. I could keep going. I think a few more, but Frankie Montas are all going after him, and I prefer all of those guys to him. He's a good pitcher. I'm not fully out on the Chris Paddock experience, but I have him 38th amongst my starters, which means I'm not getting him at that price that he has. And again, you're looking at a guy who's a 2-pitch pitcher. I don't think he's as bad as he was in 20. This isn't like, oh, he's the 20 guy and move on. But he also wasn't as good as we saw in 2019, at least from a overall skill standpoint, because he has a home run rate. That is an issue. A 1.5 mark in 2019. It was up to 2.1 in 2020. Even if you just give him a pass for 20 and look at that 2019 one, that's concerning. That's too many home runs there. He's a fastball changeup guy. Until Paddock develops something that is a quality third pitch for him, whether it's that curveball that he's been dabbling with or the show-me cutter that he had this year, I have concerns about him, and his consistency is the issue. I think he'll be volatile, and it's volatility I'm not really that interested in at the cost. So I'm passing on Chris Paddock.
Saris raves about his Command Plus. He's still in on him. How about you, Ruvain?
I am in on him 100%. The only real change I saw from the numbers from 2019, 2020 was that he got more ground balls last year. He's never thrown more than 140 innings, so you're not going to get that many strikeouts from him. But I was listening to Lucas Giolito talk about pitching staffs, and he said that he learns more from other pitchers on the staff as opposed to the pitching coach sometimes. And those new pitchers that are coming to the team, they can teach him certain pitches, or they can teach him a third pitch. They can teach him how to get out of certain situations, because his problem is he tends to get a high pitch count in games, and that's why he can't go so deep into games. So if he learns some stuff from Yu Darvish, from Blake Snell, from Joe Musgrove, he can elevate his game to even higher heights than they were in 2019.
So where he's going in drafts is the 8th round, and I'll give you some other names right now in the 8th round. Stanton, Tommy Pham, Mike Moustakas, Byron Buxton, Dylan Moore, Matt Chapman, Dominic Smith, Brian Hayes, Zach Greinke. I don't find anybody I find just off the top of my head really attractive in that round other than Greinke Paddock. So if I'm planning my draft, I would put these two as a hot spot. There's also Charlie Morton in that round. Lance McCullers is in a little bit earlier in the round. But there's enough pitching in that round that I kind of like it as a pitching round. I might, in my plan, say round 8, Paddock / Greinke / other pitcher. So in that case, I like him for this. I'm buying him. His walk rate has been going down, and even had not a great year last year. His walk rate went even down. K per 9 is 9, which is still very good. ATC is actually pessimistic than a lot of other projection systems. 3.94 ERA, although up and down. The interesting thing, we mentioned the interprojectional standard deviation. It's even lower than Greinke's at $2.60. I find him very similar to what you're going to get out of Zach Greinke. Probably fewer innings, a little bit more risk, so I prefer Greinke to him. But I still think he's a good buy, especially in an auction format. I think that you're going to get a nice discount on Paddock, especially since in real life he's probably the 5th starter, but he might be a number 2 starter on your team. So I'm in on Paddock. Let's go to the Los Angeles Dodger duo. We talked about Kershaw already, but how about Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May, 2 exciting pitchers. Gonsolin's already 27 years old. Dustin May, only 23 years old. Wow. What are your thoughts, Paul, on the Dodger duo? Are they going to step it up? Are they worth the spot? These are a little bit further down. We've been talking about guys 8th round and above. Gonsolin is going in the 14th round. May a little bit higher in the 11th round. Thoughts on those two?
I'm out on May at his price. There's some development to be done there. Like he's a gift master. Everyone loves seeing the gifts, but it doesn't translate into the fantasy results that you would expect. I think a lot of people end up surprised if they don't have him on a team to find out that he has an 8% swinging strike rate and a 21% strikeout rate in his 90 2/3. It's because, sinkers, 2-seamers don't really generate swings and misses. It's more of a ground ball situation, 51% ground balls. And that certainly is going to help him with his ratios for Dustin May. But he's not the full fantasy package right now, and as such, I'm not paying the premium, and he's going to continue to move up too. Gonsolin, I'm much more interested in between the two. He's cheaper, and frankly, he's better. He's older, so he's more developed, and that makes sense that he's better. But I think from a fantasy standpoint, you talk about 13% swinging strike rate, yielding a 25% strikeout rate in his 86 2/3 innings as a major leaguer. I think he's been difficult to hit at 6.0 hits per 9, yielding a 2.60 ERA and a .92 WHIP. It's even combining his 2 samples is still very small at 86 2/3. But I think everything we've seen from Gonsolin suggests that he's legit. Now it's a matter of the Dodgers. Are they going to mess around and kind of have one of them as the 6th man and bouncing them around? Price is coming off of missing an entire season. They've always been pretty cautious with Buehler. Kershaw has his back. Urias, they've never really taken the full reins off him. So I think even if it is a 6-man situation, and you draft the guy who is in the 6th spot, whether it's May or Gonsolin, I think if you're just patient, you'll be rewarded. That's one of those, though, that you have to know your own intestinal fortitude with regards to holding on to players, that if it doesn't work out instantly, can you be patient enough to hold? Say they don't need a 6th starter, if they do 6 starters, for a little while, and Gonsolin's getting these 3-inning relief stints for a couple weeks. Can you hang through that to wait for when he gets starts? Because he will get starts. No team just uses 5 all year, and the Dodgers will be no different. So I prefer Gonsolin by quite a bit between he and May.
So you need like a buyer beware sticker for these guys in terms of proceed with caution. You might have to wait a little bit of while. I'll give you a couple of notes on my end. Dustin May, you hinted at it, Paul. 99-mile-an-hour fastball velocity, yet he's producing just a 7.5 K per 9, 20% strikeout rate. something doesn't add up there. You would think
It's
that
because of
with
sinkers.
most people, yeah, he is getting those ground balls, but you'd think that he would be a little bit more effective on the strikeouts. Bothers me a little bit. But he's a solid pitcher. 11th round might be a little bit too much for me. I have him at par value with ATC. Depends upon what I need at the time. Certainly, he's not going to pump up your strikeouts. Maybe if there's a reason to take him if I have a lot of volume earlier and I need a little bit better ratios later, maybe take a chance on him. Tony Gonsolin, we talked about the interprojectional standard deviation. He is the highest pitcher in terms of where projections differ. Right? Nobody with above replacement value has a more difference in price with the underlying projections. That's very interesting. People don't know what to do with Tony Gonsolin. The average, though, according to ATC, is a nice $4 bargain. He is a 14th round pitcher, and ATC thinks he's a couple rounds. His skill set is a couple rounds earlier. Question, though, is innings. At the projection, ATC is projecting for the $10. That's 117 innings. Should he pitch more, he's going to be even more valuable. I like him. I like him for the upside, the innings upside, because remember, you're getting replacement level stats with him. If he's going to skip a start because they're going a 6-man rotation, plug in somebody else who'll get you stats along the way, and you'll still get the full value of Gonsolin over the year. So I do also prefer Gonsolin over to May. I don't love these guys, but I'm going to probably own a little bit more shares of Gonsolin than May.
I don't love these guys either, but it's also a matter of the makeup of your team. If you have the strikeout guys ready up top, you don't have to worry about these guys being plugged in because, listen, if they're going to continue to have a 7-inning doubleheader rule, these guys are going to come into play. All these guys they're going to find their innings. They're able to find their innings. Last year, they were able to find the innings whenever they get to the playoffs. There's always an injury coming up. David Price is getting older. We mentioned Clayton Kershaw. He is getting older. He's expected. We have him, I think, 160, 107 innings of quality innings. But still, they're missing innings. They have to fill them in. And these guys are the guys to have. But they're not really strikeout guys, so don't get them for the strikeouts. Now, as for the price, Tony Gonsolin is much more palatable than where Dustin May is going. Dustin May, he had 140 innings. That was his tops in 2017. His K rate has gone down. His ground ball rate has gone up. And he was lucky last year. He had one of his lowest BABIPs of his career at 234. So I'm a little nervous about May, especially like you mentioned. He throws 99. You expect more strikeouts. Yes, he's got that heavy sinker and he gets grounders, but is that defense behind him going to be as good as it was last year? Are they going to? We don't know what's happening at third base. Justin Turner still hasn't signed yet. You don't know where he's going yet. Tony Gonsolin, he's older. He knows how to pitch. He hasn't thrown more than 120 innings, and he did that back in 2018. So the 117, 112, 117 range is a good projection, but I think there's no reason why he can't go past that. And I think if the Dodgers have to call on one of the two to start, I think they're starting May, and I think Gonsolin will piggyback off of him.
Got a couple questions in the mailbag. Nick Bruce asks, do you give any value boost to pitchers who sign with a new team with a good reputation? For example, the Giants seemed to really help Gausman and Smiley maximize their potential last year. Should Desclafani get a boost? Are there any other examples for this year, Paul?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I give teams certain respect, so I could certainly see doing that. Desclafani's an interesting one. You know, he's so cheap that it's not a bad lottery ticket. I think anytime, you know, Cleveland's really become a hotbed, and I think somebody like they didn't just get him, but Cal Quantrill has been on the radar for folks as like somebody to watch out. Maybe he could be their next big emergence. You know, anytime the Rays do something, I think it garners some attention there. They haven't really gone out and gotten new pitchers. They've actually moved on from them. Although Luis Patino, what kind of opportunity could he get? Not that he was leaving a bad squad in San Diego, but yeah, there's certain teams that I think do get alterations made, sometimes on the negative end. Somebody goes to LA and they're not like that true frontliner, like a Kershaw who should be trusted, you know, as long as he's healthy. Then you have to peel back a little bit, and that's what we're just talking about with May and Gonsolin. So yeah, there's definitely team context things that you try to do a buck here, plus a buck here, minus a buck there type of deal.
Yeah, Ruvain, what do you think? A good reputation help pitchers in terms of who you're going to select for the year?
No, I don't think that changing teams is giving that player that much of a boost because they still have the same skill level. Yes, they may be on a better fielding team. They may be in a better home environment. Sometimes the change of scenery helps, but it doesn't change the pitches they throw. It doesn't change their mentality coming into the game. So I'm not so high when pitchers change from one team to another. I don't think they're going to get a huge boost. I don't think there's going to be a huge negative.